Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First question that was asked, once it was determined that the town hall was proposed to move into the bachelor school, is that's fine, but now you have another vacant building, the domino effect. So what do you do with the Murphy Center? Well, for those who aren't all familiar with the terrain in the area of the Murphy Center, it's zoned residential B at this point. So the only thing you could actually, if you sold the property without any zoning change, would be for single-family housing. So we looked at other options, and if you come into the town hall someday and ask to book a room for a nonprofit or for a meeting space, you can't always get the dates you want, and there's a reason for that. There's a lot of use of public buildings. In fact, earlier this evening, I went down to get a juice down in the cafeteria, and there's a meeting going on down there. So there is a town-wide need for public space for meetings. In the town hall, the Murphy Center, it's a 43-year-old building with approximately 25,000 square feet. Right now, we have 4 designated meeting rooms and 1 gymnasium. The gymnasium is very rarely used for meetings because acoustically it's horrible. It's fine for children's basketball, but it's not good if you're trying to conduct a large public meeting. And there's approximately about 25 other various rooms of various sizes and proportions. What we're looking for as F.U.M.P. is to utilize those spaces for recreational use. There's ongoing recreational programs going in other town buildings at this point, which actually may be more suited to the town hall. As a cultural center, for gym space, it is very difficult right now for people. In fact, we don't utilize the gym space for groups during the daytimes for town hall purposes, but if you have a cultural center or a community center, then those spaces could be utilized during the day. It would extend the rec program, extend public space. Also, at this point, would maintain the precinct for elections in that building. If we either sold it or disposed of it or utilized it for another use, we'd have to find some other space for the precinct for the elections. And if there is a concern by some saying, well, we don't want a recreational space, you know, in our residential areas and such, it's right next to the police station. So it will serve 2 purposes there. So our building will be always protected at all times if this program goes forth. So I hope you support this. And there's no cost to the town at this point because we have not determined any cost elements to the Murphy Center. It's an operational building at this point, and it will be operational until the time the town hall leaves to go to the bachelor's school. And at that time, the building would be up and running and could be gone into very easily by any group. Thank you on the Murphy Center.
Okay, then the police station.
Yeah, thank you. Police station is another area, but it's probably less of a issue regarding decision making as who goes in there. If we go, town hall goes to the bachelor's school, we anticipate that there'll be enough space there. In fact, it's more space than we have currently for our offices, because as you know, we do not utilize the gym space, and the gym space is included in our 25,000 square feet. So we looked at the various options of other municipal uses for that building. And fire and public safety, when I say public safety, I'm talking about emergency management, pops to mind immediately. There's other town halls that have emergency management centers for such things as disasters, hurricanes and such. We really don't have a central location, and there's a possibility that could be utilized as part of that area. It would be approximately about a $1 million cost, and that's an estimated cost. We have not made any plans or determinations of what uses would be in there for the fire department. The building is zoned general business, and it's approximately about 6,000 square feet in that building for the police station. That's the upper and the lower floors. But it is our hope that we would, at least at this point, put the fire department for additional space in that building. And the $1 million would be to do some repair work in some maybe relocation areas within the building there. But the police station is operational there, so there would not be that much of a cost for them to go from there for the additional space.
Obviously, one of the most important issues facing the community in F.U.M.P. was the financial impact of this particular proposal, or any proposal which was going to be put forth for consideration, and what the impact was going to have on the budget and also on the taxpayers of the community. So to address the financial impact of the proposals and the proposed timeline, I'll call upon Brad Jones Sr., Chairman of the Finance Committee, for his presentation. Mr. Jones.
The Finance Committee is a little behind in the technology world, in the sense we're not plugged into PowerPoint, and we have to depend on old technology called overheads. So while the superintendent and the town manager are assisting us, I'll try to entertain you.
There was a joke there.
Yeah.
We work together.
How many pictures would it take to change a light bulb?
Yeah. I'm reminded of an old classic book called The Tale of Two Cities. And if you vaguely remember it, it opened something like, it was the worst of times, it was the best of times. And I suppose you can look at F.U.M.P. either one of those two ways. Gee, these are some of the best presentations for the best facilities the town has ever seen. And gosh, those are the worst costs that I've ever heard of. So take your pick. At town meeting, if you followed it, I think you'll remember that I said this was a work in progress. And since town meeting, three things have happened. One is that the police building study committee has slightly mitigated their cost of the police station downward. Dave Hamlin referred to the DPW Spindler facility, and that we reached a decision to do that in 2 phases. And also, the Federal Reserve Board pushed interest rates another 50 basis points. So at town meeting, we were factoring on 5.5% interest, and now we're factoring on 6% interest. Okay, we're not going to do this in one spread, so let me deal with what's shown on the board. To your right, at the top, you will see a slightly shaded area that says existing debt exclusions. Those are exclusions that have been voted and approved by the town. They're highlighted there as high school through hood school. Our present tax rate of $16.14 includes the high school library and the little school, not the hood school yet. This will kick in, if you will, in December when the new tax rate is set. But it shows total debt exclusions down at the bottom, $7,700,000. And just below that are 4 school projects, either currently approved or to be approved, reflecting the cost, the interest, the state SBAB reimbursement, and the net cost to us. So hopefully that's sort of self-explanatory. This is what we voted on, this is what we own today, this is what will work its way into our tax rate. From the shaded point, not a little to the left of center, to your right, if we should shift that, I guess I can do. Starting just past the shaded area, you'll see a heading Swan Pond School. Below that is the base cost of $12 million, and each one of the projects are running across the top, reflecting their base costs. Over to the far, almost to the far right, is the total new debt exclusions, ones that aren't voted on yet. And if they are all favorably received, to the far right is the sum total of approved and to be approved debt exclusions. All of these have been factored at 6%. They've all been factored on 20-year bonding. If you will look at the schools, just briefly, the Swan Pond, the high school and the middle school, you might note that they're actually done over 25 years. Reason for that is that once they're submitted and approved by the SBAB, it doesn't necessarily mean the funding starts on that given day, and you're at the mercy of the Great General Court to fund the state budget. And there has been a wait time between approval and start of a project to that funding by the state of between 3 to 5 years. So we took the cautious route, and the first 5 years are the interest only. And if you look at the first 5 years, you'll see that the first year is about 1/3 of that cost, because you're drawing your money down, you're building your project on. The second year is 2/3. The third, fourth, and fifth year are at full interest. And from that point on, it's principal and interest. So we've tried to be straightforward, tried to be conservative in building in the correct interest and the correct time frames. Could some of this shift? Sure. I don't know what Alan Greenspan, Federal Reserve Board, is going to do with interest any more than you do. It may be that a project would shift forward or backward a year or two, and that would shift those parameters. But this is as straightforward a presentation as we can give at the moment. Now you can flood yourself with numbers. And we're reluctant to do it, but we felt the first sheet, which you've just seen, and the second sheet were fair sheets to give you. The second sheet that you're looking at, the top half, is the debt exclusion tax rate impact, which includes both the projects that are already approved and be factored in the tax rate, and all the projects that be an offer for consideration and approval. And if they're all approved and over the time span indicated, rate of interest, this would be a tax impact. We picked 3 levels: a house for $200,000, $300,000, or $350,000. And we did it only with the addition to the tax rate impact, because when we didn't do it with the real estate, because that depends on valuations and how that bounces up and down, and that's pure crystal balling, and I'd be kidding myself if not you people to do that. The second chart below is just the standalone tax impact of the new project and how they would affect various homes. More financial news will come as the work progresses, as the Federal Reserve does its work, and as we get more educated and smarter about this, we'll continue to make it a little more finite. Thank you.
Mr. Jones, just for the people who are at home, you might not be able to see it, could you just give them a synopsis as to if the home was worth $200,000, the worst case scenario, the year 2009, or whatever the worst year is.
Worst case scenario,
What
which
the impact
addresses
is.
the worst of times, I guess,
The worst
instead
of
of the
times,
best of
as opposed
times.
to the best of
Okay.
times.
If you have a $200,000 home, and basing it, I'm going to base it on the top chart, which is both approved debt exclusions and hopefully to be approved debt exclusions. Your peak rate comes in the year 2006 at just under $600.
Does that include the regular tax rate and the debt?
No, this is all
This is
projects
all
which have already
debt
been
exclusion
approved
only.
for debt exclusion, plus the new.
This is only debt exclusion.
Just-
For interest sake, your tax rate right now is $16.14. 98 cents of that is debt exclusion. Our base tax rate is actually $15.16. So if we didn't have any debt exclusion on the books, your straightforward personal property tax would be $15.16.
This is with interest, correct?
This is-
I'm sorry?
This is all
Yes.
interest after that.
This is the ball of wax.
Monthly.
Interest, principal, and also